Good evening, everybody. This is George Wheeler. I am on the board of directors of ICR 360, and I am the co-owner of the International Crisis Room 360. I appreciate everybody taking the time to join us here for our broadcast. I'm waiting for Tom Hall to join us. Hopefully our special guest will get an opportunity to be here with us tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about leading millennials. And this is kind of a big topic that we see lately. Now, it's actually kind of a funny topic, because there are a lot of video gaffes that are out there about leading millennials. And when you look at some of the stuff that's out there, it is humorous, but in a lot of cases, if you are the leader in this situation where you have, especially if you have a large group of individuals who are millennials that are with you, and let's say you're Generation X, so you're maybe in your 40s or you're in your 50s, and it's just very hard sometimes to relate to this younger generation. They have different values. They grew up differently than we did, and it doesn't make them bad. It doesn't make them better. It just makes them different. And diversity is always what makes us great. So we have to learn as leaders how to lead in very diverse environments. And nothing can be more diverse sometimes than leading millennials. And it's not a bad thing. It just means that you have to grow as a leader if you are a person who has a group of individuals, or even one individual who falls in this category. Personally, I think millennials are awesome. They seem to be very smart. They're very in tune with a lot of things. They're very feeling oriented. You know, we used to always think that, we were very visionary. I see things this way, I see things that way. You talk to a lot of millennials, and even though they grow up, with a computer screen and games and things like that, they're very feeling oriented. And you have to understand that. And if you're a hammer, if you're the leader, we talked about this before, you're one of those guys, you come out of the military and you go into the private sector, and you're a hammer, and every problem that you see is a nail, you are not going to get along at all with millennials. One of the reasons I really wanted to bring this up this week, though, during this broadcast, is there was a case of a contract security company that lost a contract with a hospital because one of their employees did a Facebook post. And if you read the post, it really didn't seem that bad. And I'm just going to take 1 second here. I let my phone kind of go out on me here. The post itself didn't necessarily seem that bad. I could see why, if you were younger and really didn't have the experience in this, you would think this is very innocuous. Well, there's nothing wrong with me putting this on here. Personally, I don't think you should really be posting anything about your work, especially if you're in the security industry, on Facebook. And this goes down to a company policy. And following up on company policies, if you have people in your company who are doing these things, then you should be monitoring some of these things. And if you're not monitoring some of your employees' Facebooks, and not everybody's friends with their employees on Facebook, and not every employee wants to have you as a friend on their Facebook if you're their boss. But your company should be aware that if people are putting things that can put your company in jeopardy on Facebook, you need to be aware of this. And there's lots of software that companies can invest in that you could actually use to help monitor keywords. I'm trying to think, Snap Trends, not Snap Trends, maybe it is Snap Trends, one of those companies that would actually allow you to monitor social media. And this is really important, because if you're not monitoring what's happening, this kind of thing can happen. Now, the officer said, there was a case with the patients feeling impatient at Presbyterian. I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't even say the thing, but at this hospital. So it's sad. It's sad that the contract security company lost the entire contract over kind of a very short post, but one that, in a sense, it ended up kind of mocking the patients at the hospital. And the person who wrote it, they knew what they were doing. Like I said, millennials are smart. They know what they're doing. Sarcasm is kind of like, it's in their DNA. So it's very difficult to actually look at this and think, oh, this wasn't a big deal. Yes, the person got fired, but you lost the contract. Now I'm thinking, if somebody made a post and lost an entire contract because of this post, there were problems leading up to this post. This wasn't the first straw against the security company. They didn't have a spotlessly clean record. They weren't doing such a fantastic job that the hospital felt they couldn't operate without them. That's apparent because over this one post, they lost the entire contract. So you look at the people who were in charge of that contract, and if I were the area manager or somebody of that contract security company, you would have to take a serious look, not just at the employee who wrote the post, but at other employees who were on the account and the people who were in charge of that account. Because if you just reassigned them, now a lot of those guards may have gone to the other guard contracting company who took over that contract. But if you took some of those people, or you had some people in your office and they weren't, and they're operations managers and they're responsible for looking out over the other accounts, and they thought that everything was going great at that account and never informed you that there are actually problems, I'm guessing that they weren't in the loop. They weren't in the know. They were just kind of doing their job. Hey, this account runs itself. I'm not worried about that account. Well, apparently somebody should have been worried about it. So the leadership in this case, by the time this happens, and by the time this person gets fired, and by the time the hospital takes away the account from the security company, there was plenty of opportunity for that security company to go back and set things right, to go back and make their case of why this one incident was a completely, I think it was anonymous, not anonymous, but y'all know what I'm thinking of. It's a one-off incident. This isn't going to happen again. We're embarrassed by this ourselves. We've taken corrective action on our side. We've publicly posted out there that this person not only did not reflect the values of the hospital, but they didn't reflect the values of our security company. There should have been an entire PR press issue going out about that long before they lost the contract, because I'm here to tell you, if you lost a contract over that, shame on that employee for doing that, but you've got bigger issues. And as a supervisor of this person who did this, you have to really look at yourself and the other leaders within that organization and say, was I doing everything? Did that employee know the consequences of making even just such an innocuous post like that, a small, simple post? Did they know the company policy was you don't put our work on social media? How many times have you seen people posting something on your Facebook or even LinkedIn sometimes? How many times do you see people posting things about their work? And to me, it's one of the most difficult things when you go to somebody, especially if they're new, they're younger. To them, they just grew up kind of talking about everything on social media. And this becomes a big problem. All of a sudden, you're telling them, hey, your work, don't be posting things about your work on social media. And to them, it's just like, well, why not? I post everything on social media. And they do. It's not just them. There's a lot of people out there who do. And there was another post about a school guard who just got reinstated because they posted something about the school on Facebook. People, if you're in the security industry, you need to be stepping up in the leadership ability and really making sure that your employees understand what their responsibilities are. They're the face of your company. That entry-level guard that you left by themselves at the front door, they're the face of the company and the face of your client at that moment. And if you didn't give them the proper training and you just thought, well, this person has it, I'm just going to leave them there, and they make a big mistake, you're responsible for these things. And you're the one who's going to have to answer for this eventually. And just saying, well, I took care of this. This employee made this mistake, and I terminated them. Terminating employees is not the answer. It never really digs down to the root cause of why things happen. And every time we talk about issues, whenever we talk about issues in this weekly broadcast, we're not always going to talk about issues. Sometimes we're going to be talking about good things. And I'm sorry, right now I've got Mr. Hall is calling, and I don't know how to stop that. Sorry about that. But you have to realize that, and now I'm really sorry, I kind of lost my spot where I was. But just understand, this is what, as a leader, we're not always going to be talking about things that go wrong. We're going to be talking about things that went really right, things that great leaders did or very good leaders stepped up and did. And sometimes it's not even a person who was in a leadership position. It's just somebody who stood up and took leadership action. And we'll talk about those cases too. But when we talk about the things that went wrong, such as this case here of letting employees post things on Facebook about work, you have to get down to the root cause of that. And the root cause, a lot of times, is not understanding your employees. Not understanding that, I don't know, maybe this wasn't the first time the employee posted about their work on social media. And you can't go around always monitoring your employees on social media, but you can monitor them when they are at work. You can ask them questions. You can make sure they understand their roles and their responsibilities while they're at work. If it's an 8-hour shift, you have that person for 8 hours to make sure that they truly understand that they are the face of the company, and anything they do, even if it's outside work hours. I don't care if it's 11 o'clock at night, dude's sitting in bed and he posts something on Facebook that shouldn't have been posted. You're still responsible for that as the leader. And you have to understand how to manage these people. And one of the biggest things that you can do for anybody, I don't care if they're millennials or just Generation X, Generation Y, baby boomers, I don't really care who it is to listen to them, to actually talk to them, to engage them, especially in the security industry. Because in our roles, by our responsibility and roles and responsibility within these companies, we play a very big role in being the face of that company. And I'll tell you what, on social media, somebody's listening. Somebody's going to see those comments. And I'm sure in this case here, the customer saw those comments before the company did, before the security company did. And the customer probably went to the security company and said, one of your employees did this. But before they went to you, they probably already went to themselves and had meetings and said, oh my God, this is what happened. And they've already started making decisions about what they're going to do with your company before they even told you. And that's not a situation you want to be in. But if you're not paying attention to what's going on with your people, if you're not spending time with your people, if you're not reinforcing to them the importance of their role and their responsibilities within the company, then you have to understand that these things are going to happen. But a good leader would be engaged, especially on a security contract. You might have good leaders in that company at the high level, but somewhere along the line, as you started coming down the company, that didn't filter down. You didn't make sure you had leadership at every level. And the person who wrote that post did not exhibit good leadership qualities. And a lot of people will say, especially in the security industry, I was short people. I don't have a choice. I have to hire whoever I can because I can't get enough people. Well, there's a lot of people working in the security industry. They're working for other companies, maybe not yours. But if you were that company, if you had great leadership and you were that company that everybody wanted to come work for, you wouldn't have a problem getting people. They would actually leave other security companies and come work for you if you had that kind of reputation. And you build those kinds of reputation by being the best in your industry, by taking care of your people. And when you take care of your people better than every other guarding company out there, it doesn't have to be 100% better than every other company. Just do things 1% better. Do things at certain things. Just be better, a little bit better at something. And let your employees know you care about them, because millennials want to know that you care about them. They want to know that they actually add some kind of value. Security's tough. You just come in and you kind of go through the motions every day. It's one of the most boring jobs in the world sometimes when you're just sitting out there on a post, staring off into nothing, and nothing ever happens day in, day out, and you don't mix your things up, you don't mix your employees up on different posts, you don't do things like that, it becomes a very mundane job. It becomes very boring. You have to keep people active. Why not be teaching them leadership? Why not be creating courses for them as your company? Why doesn't your company go out and create material that they can read on post about leadership? Be constantly reinforcing behaviors, because this millennial group of individuals, they need that. They need constant reinforcing. I don't want to call it micromanaging, but in a sense, they need that sometimes. Not all millennials. If you're a millennial out there and this is making you angry, that's either because you know I'm talking directly to you, or it makes you angry because you're being associated with this group of people. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can kind of listen to a lot of things that are going around on the internet about the generation being in the workforce. But I can't say enough, that diversity within the workforce is just a fantastic group of individuals to have. And you can lead them, but you have to show them you care about them. And you do have to make sure that you're engaging them. You just leave a millennial on a post somewhere, and they're gonna be thinking about Google all day, YouTube. You know, just, I know that's kind of a stereotype, but it's frustrating to a lot of people, and I see this. I see a lot of people who say, this person just, I don't get them. You know, they seem so immature to me. Well, their actions may seem immature to you, but they're not necessarily immature to them. Matter of fact, they're not immature to them at all. They think that we're just, I say we're because I'm Generation X, and they think we're just kind of old and stuffy. We don't want to have any fun. You know, everything's just work, this. We have to get things done and then go home. They want to have a little bit of fun. They don't understand why they can't be on YouTube and things like that while they're at work. So you put a computer in front of them, and all it does is access control, and you walk away, and all of a sudden you realize they were downloading something on there. They knew not to do that on the computer. It's not their responsibility to come to your level. It's not their responsibility. Some of them will, but it's not their responsibility to pick up the slack and be the way you want. It's your responsibility to be the leader and go down and help them to be the person that they need as a leader. And once you start doing that, you're going to find it a lot better. You're going to find the workplace becomes better. When you engage them, you're going to find them having better performance. Don't just wait for that performance review to talk to them about performance. If you only talk about performance once a year or bi-yearly, however you do it, and then when you do that performance review, you tell them, yeah, your performance is actually fairly low. And they're shocked. Oh, I thought I was doing a good job. How was I supposed to know I wasn't doing a good job? You never told me. You know, a lot of times that's accurate. You didn't tell them that they weren't doing a good job. And then also you come out with this performance review and it says, well, you're average, below average employee. That's not shame on the employee if you didn't do anything to correct that behavior along the way, or if you didn't do enough reinforcing to correct that behavior. Maybe you told them once, hey, you need to stop doing this. But you didn't have the fortitude to tell them why they need to stop doing that, to keep enforcing why they don't need to do that. And I know it sounds like I'm saying that you have to micromanage or be there. A lot of people call it babysitting. It's not. They're grown-ups. They're adults. They're smart. Part of the problem is they think they're smarter than you. And that's okay. Let them be. But you have to be the better person. You have to be the leader. You have to take control of the situation. And if you can't do that, you need to learn some communication skills. I mean, you learn some communication skills. You learn how to work with people of a younger generation, especially as we continue to get older. You're finding a lot of people who have kind of had a career, and either they were outsourced to that career or they retired from it, but they're not ready to stop working, and they can get jobs in the security industry. So you actually have people in their 60s who are coming into the security industry for the first time. And I remember when I was doing interviews one time, I was interviewing a guy who was probably about 55 years old. He'd had a career, he did all right, but he needed insurance still, so he needed to keep working. And when I asked him, why do you feel you would be a good candidate for these positions that I had open? And the person just kind of sat back and said, it's security. How hard could it be? And when he said that, it kind of just, I was like, my eyes probably got like saucer plates. I was like, what? What did this person just say to me? I said, well, actually, I thought you would say something like, it's because I pay attention to detail. It's because I'm aware of my surroundings. It's because I have experience in dealing with people who can get aggravated, and I can keep my calm, and I can help diffuse situations. There's a lot of things that go into security than just sitting back thinking, hey, this isn't so hard. Anybody can do this. So I just want to put that question back to you. What is it that you think you can, what is it that you bring to us that would make you a good candidate for these positions that we have? The person sat back and goes, it's security. And I said to him, I literally stood up, folded up the paperwork, and I said, thank you very much for your time today. We're through with this interview. I will let you know if we have an opening for you in the future. And the person was like shocked. Oh my God, what do you mean? What do you mean the interview's over? Do I get a job? And I was just like, I can't have a person who doesn't understand the importance of the job. And unfortunately, there's too many people out there hiring into the security industry who would let things like that go by. Because I need people. I needed people. I was shorthanded, probably 15 positions. But I wasn't just going to hire anybody, because I bring that person into my organization, I'm going to have problems later on down the road. You don't hire just anybody for these positions. You hire people that are going to do the best job for you. And some of those people are going to be millennials. And they need to learn, you know, you can make a career out of the security industry. And millennials are coming in here, a lot of times they're coming in here because maybe there's no jobs in what they were doing. And they're just kind of, hey, there's people, we're always looking for people in security. I can get a job here for now until I find what I really want. Get them in, get them engaged. Let them be the next leader. Let them learn that they can actually do well in the security industry. Give them some kind of path, a progression to success. Give them some kind of progression to development. Give them progression to, you know, moving up the ladder. And then help them get there. That's what they want. If they just come in every day and they don't see any progression, and they do the same thing day in and day out, eventually one day they're going to do something like get on Facebook and post about their job. It's going to ruin your entire contract. But don't blame the employee. Look at the leadership. Look at your teams. Know that your team's diversity is extremely important. You need millennials on your team, because something's going to happen and they're going to be able to relate to other millennials for those contracts that they're working on, where maybe you can't. If you can't relate to your employee, you're not going to relate to those other people, and you need to start looking at that. You need to start being grateful for the millennials that you're working with. You should be grateful for all your employees. You should treat everybody with respect. Because if you expect people to respect you, if you expect people to trust you, you have to show them respect. You have to show that you trust them. Those are very important characteristics of leadership. We'll talk about all of them down below here. We talk about practiced, being a practiced leader. Trust and respect are two of those letters that really help build leadership qualities. Now down below here, there should be a place for Facebook comments. I'm looking right now, actually, and that section is not there. If you have any questions, any examples that you have of people who are leading millennials and either doing a fantastic job, and they're not in that same generation, but they're doing a fantastic job, or people who need help, you can always reach out to us. You can reach out to me at george.wheeler@icr360.com and ask me any question you want. You can put comments. I'll make sure that in this Facebook section, there's going to be comments where everybody can comment going forward. And then I will respond to those comments once that section is up and running. I appreciate everybody taking the time to watch this today. I hope you got something from this. If you are a leader and you do have millennials on your team, I hope that somewhere along in this conversation we've just had, this really helps you. And I'll make sure that next week we get to hear from Mr. Tom Hall. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Have a great day.